Hey, everybody, welcome back to the My Wave podcast. Super excited to have you listen in on this episode. Today, we're going to be hearing from Ian DiBenedetto and New Jersey, now North Carolina. Can't wait to hear his story, his wave, his story, his life. But super excited to get to him in just a second. But first of all, I want to give a big thanks to Copilot Studio and Billy behind the scenes doing an awesome job. Check them out at Copilot Studio on Instagram. Today's sponsor, or this episode's sponsor, is Shredder's Surf Camp. Shredder's Surf Camps at Wrightsville Beach. They are summertime, starting mid-June, going through the mid-August, 4-day camp. You can check them out at shreddersurf.com for a group lesson, private lesson, 4-day camp. Check them out and see if they can help you out this summer learning to surf. All right. So here we go. Ian, how are you doing, my man?
Good. How are you,
I'm
PK? Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy. Good to have you on. Thanks so much for doing this. So Ian, we made it, I guess, what, about a month ago?
Yeah, probably closer to two. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. Time flies when you're having fun. But we
Yeah.
met at Wrightsville Beach Surf Church. They're meeting at Jerry Allen's bar, getting ready to go outside for from Easter on. They'll be back outside under the pier, and met you there, and that was super cool to hear what God's doing in your life. But here we're to talk about surfing, and if the God topic comes up in this conversation, great. But we want to talk about your wave, your story, your life, man. And so let's jump on in. Very first thing that I learned about you, Ian, was that you serve in the United States Army.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I've
Uh,
been in for 11 and a half years. Been stationed at Fort Bragg for most of it. Um, yeah, infantryman, airborne ranger infantry.
okay.
Just ground pounder. But I've been fortunate to do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, Ian, thank you so much for your service to this country and putting your life on the line for us, for the freedoms that we enjoy. It is much, much appreciated, bro.
I appreciate it. It's my pleasure.
Yes, sir. Um, so, where did you start surfing?
So I started off in New Jersey. I grew up a couple blocks from the beach in a place called Ocean Township, which is in Monmouth County, kind of like
Okay.
central, right on the coast. Uh, and grew up as a little kid going to the beach with my parents and stuff like that. And I would always see guys out there surfing, and I was always drawn to it. And my parents got me a surfboard one year for Christmas when I was probably about, I don't know, maybe like 11 or so,
Okay.
somewhere around there. And from that point on, and it was Christmas, so it was the winter, and I was like on it on my bed all the time, like standing on it, like just couldn't wait to get it out. And once summer came around, the water warmed up. I was out there like every day, just trying
Yeah.
to figure it out.
That's awesome. So 11 years old now. I have only been through New Jersey once. So
Okay.
I ran up to New York with my son trying to get his visa to go to South Africa. And we had to go to the consulate there in Manhattan. And we were looking at Long Island, and it was kind of blown out. And we're like, hey, let's head on down. New Jersey looks like potential. So we just cruised down and probably drove through your town along the
Yeah, I
coast
guarantee
there.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, and we
yeah.
stopped in how do you say it? Manasquan?
Manasquan, yeah, Manasquan
Manasquan.
Inlet.
Yeah, so we stopped there because you go into surf checks and there's a camera there, and it was like, and then you see pictures in Eastern Surf Magazine or Surfer Magazine, and there's that's like the picture spot. Uh, and
Yeah,
so we wanted to go there and see what we could see, and it was cold and windy and not much happening on that north side, but it looked like the swell was rolling over to the south side. So we drove around and checked it out, and there really wasn't much, but we found a really good little restaurant right there. It was delicious.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The south side of those rocks gets really good barrels. Breaks pretty close to the beach, but it's a really good spot. And yeah, like you said, there are photos of that, and I used to see it in ESM magazine growing up and stuff like
Right.
that. Be like, oh, it's cool. It's right down the street.
Yeah. How
Um,
far how far is that from where you grew up?
it's maybe like 10 miles or so.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's super close. Yeah.
Would you go there regularly?
I was spoiled and I was so close to the beach. I just surfed my local break like all the time,
Yeah.
and I could ride my bike there or walk there or ride my skateboard. So I would always go to the same spot, and we had a little crew and stuff like that.
Oh,
So,
that's sick. So you had a
uh,
crew of guys and girls to surf with?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a bunch of friends and guys that I, would always try to learn from and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
and it always kind of pushed me into waves and stuff. So it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah, so this crew, were they mostly older guys?
Yeah, for the most part, we had a couple of friends that were my age, and we'd go out, but most of the guys who were really shredding were some of the older guys, and we'd always try to learn stuff from them, and
Yeah.
and we'd pick up on what they were doing.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
And it's great to have. And now, you're getting connected with this group of guys here at Wrightsville Beach, and you have an opportunity to pass that on. I'm not saying you're old, but you and
I
I
am.
are definitely older than this group that's out there, and it's been fun to get together with them and hoot and holler and laugh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a blast, and it's super cool to see how excited they get, when there are waves and stuff like that, to learn new stuff.
yeah. So from New Jersey, you started surfing. Where did it go from there as you got older?
Yeah, so I surfed a lot growing up in New Jersey, and then I kind of didn't. I kind of started getting onto the wrong path and hanging out with kind of the wrong people, doing the wrong thing, getting into dangerous substances and stuff like that, and kind of derailed my surfing. I was into competitive surfing, and I loved it. I'd go out all the time, and then eventually that kind of slowed down.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then yeah.
Yeah, so competitive surfing. Um, was that
Mhm.
ESA and SSA?
Yeah, yeah, ESA, the Central New Jersey um, division primarily
Okay.
was, were some of the ones that I was doing. I never, uh, I never did great. I was like a second place, third place kind of guy, maybe.
Hmm.
But I was just excited to make it out of my heats.
Sure, sure. Now, I think when you'd picked up some sponsors while you were doing that, right?
Yeah, I was sponsored by a local surf shop, and then briefly for O'Neill wetsuits, and then Sharp Eye surfboards.
Okay.
Pretty much just getting kind of discounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was nothing too serious, but that's essentially back then, at least. I don't know. I feel like sponsorship and all that stuff has changed quite a bit, but back then, at least, that was kind of where you started off, and then um, you just take it from there. But they expected you to keep competing
Hmm.
in order to kind of keep some of those deals and discounts and stuff like that going.
Yeah, I think when you had shared this last time I heard you, you were saying kids today that are sponsored have social media, they can post stuff, they can shoot videos, etc., and their sponsors can
Right.
see a lot of activity from them where not too long ago you had to compete, you had to get your name on those standings, that posted in ESM magazine or other magazines
Right.
just to keep those sponsorships.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately their goal is to get their brand out more and have the best marketing as possible. And so therefore now, um, some of these kids that have like a ton of like Instagram followers or something like that, it's more beneficial. They might not be the best surfer, but it's more beneficial if they have a following in surfing for the sponsors to, um, you know, sponsor that person and potentially get their name out to more people.
Yeah, yeah. So in this, surfing, have you traveled much outside of New Jersey, the U.S.?
Yeah. So I've been fortunate. I've been able to travel quite a bit, up and down all the East Coast. Was been able to hit a bunch of different spots. West Coast, California. Um, Surfed like the Huntington Beach area. Haven't been out to Trestles. Had a trip booked for that, but COVID hit.
Mm.
Um, and then Nicaragua was an amazing place to surf. Just great people, um, great waves, just really cool. That's been my favorite place that I've ever traveled to for surfing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Not never. I've been to Nicaragua, but I've never surfed Nicaragua. So
I
um,
don't know.
maybe we'll have to plan a trip, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'd love to go back.
that's cool. So, any surf adventures on deployment?
Uh, Not quite. No, not quite. Contrary to popular belief, Afghanistan doesn't really have too many great waves out there, but no, a lot of daydreaming and thinking about trips after
Right.
deployment.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of that going on.
I hear you.
Um,
So where are we going tonight with your wave? Where's this wave at?
yeah, so not too far from where you mentioned before of Manasquan, actually just a bit further north, a place called Belmar. I'm sure you guys had to have passed through it if you guys passed
Probably.
through Manasquan. Um, so yeah, this place Manasquan or Belmar, excuse me. Um, in New Jersey we have jetties, and I think I was talking to you about it. It's a different dynamic surfing in
Mhm.
North Carolina where there aren't jetties on every street. We have
Right.
different shifty sandbars, and it's like you never know where's going to be breaking when and kind of what to predict. And it's similar in New Jersey, but we have kind of our favorite jetties, and you kind of know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Um,
I spent a
but
lot of
yeah,
I spent a lot of my time in high school surfing in Ocean City, Maryland. And so I don't know if you made
okay,
it
yeah,
down Delaware and Ocean City, Maryland, but at that time, Ocean City had jetties. They weren't every block, but they were very consistent. And I mean, they went out far, and yeah, you could have this peak coming off of this jetty, that peak coming off of that jetty, and this little middle section, and you could choose, all up and down the beach
yeah,
where the swell was coming in and the best jetty, and it was a lot of
yeah,
fun. So I can
absolutely.
relate
They're
with the
like
jetty
little,
surfing.
yeah, for sure. They're like little point breaks, every block or so. But so yeah, Belmar, New Jersey, and you know, when you had asked me to come on here, I was like, man, I've been able to experience a lot of really good waves in my life. Um, but one really kind of kept coming back into my mind, and it was probably about head high day. Nothing really crazy, and it was back. I was probably about 17.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Head high day, pretty glassy, just peeling right off the end of this jetty. Um, and I was out with two of my really good friends, and this wave had come in, and I was just kind of in the right place at the right time, and pulled in, and it wasn't like the craziest barrel I'd ever gotten. It wasn't like um, nothing. It was probably about a 3 to 4 second barrel, but the coolest part was that one of my really good friends was paddling out just at that time, and
Mm.
saw the whole thing and was just super psyched. um when as soon as I came out of it, he was right there, and we were both he was more psyched than I was, and
So
sometimes like the company that you're with when you're surfing is that really makes the whole session. And
absolutely.
yeah, I just kept thinking about that one.
Yeah. So let's go back then and let's break that one down. So um off of a jetty, was it a right
Yeah,
break?
it was a
Okay.
right. I'm still really terrible at backhanded barrels, so that would be a left for me since I'm regular. So
O-
it was a right.
Okay, so
um
you're goofy footed or regular footed?
no, regular, yeah.
Okay. So this was a front side barrel for you.
Yep, yep,
All right. All
yeah,
right. So you and some buddies, and it
yeah,
was just
yep.
setting up. Was it wintertime, summertime? What was the water?
It was fall. Yeah,
Fall?
it was fall. I believe it was around September. So
Okay.
I don't remember if it was hurricane swell. It's usually a lot bigger than that when we get hurricanes, but it was around that time, when the tropics are
Yeah,
pretty
heating up.
active.
So,
Yeah.
like, you've surfed Wrightsville Beach now in the fall, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I mean, you can be in board shorts at Wrightsville Beach up October,
Yeah.
occasionally.
Easily.
And
Easily.
what's the water temperature in New Jersey in the fall?
So September in New Jersey is really prime time because that's when most of your tourists leave. People that are down there seasonally, they all leave then. The water's the warmest. The air's cooling off a little bit, but the water generally stays pretty warm.
Okay.
So you're still in board shorts then for the most part, and it's the best.
Now it's not 80-degree warm.
No, it's not. I forget what I've been down here for so long. Maybe around 70, somewhere
Okay.
around there, give or take.
Right.
Somewhere around there.
Right.
Yeah.
You get water around 70 here at Wrightsville Beach, and people are already in a 3.2. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit different up there. Yeah.
Right. What's the coldest you've ever surfed?
First thing that comes to mind was day after Christmas this year. Uh, a good friend of mine and I paddled out, and the air was I think like 25, and I don't know what the water was, high 30s maybe.
Oof.
It was pretty brutal.
Oof. I remember in Ocean City, Maryland, Easter, some friends of mine, we drove out and we slept in our car. It was miserable. It was so cold.
Oh,
Got,
yeah.
got up the next morning and it was massive, bigger than I had ever surfed at that time. And I think the water had just warmed up to 40. And it was just ice cream headache. We were wearing a spring suit and a full suit over top of that. And then, boots. I think I only had like a 2 mil hood. It was brutal.
Oh, yeah, that's rough for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a 5.43 is that bare minimum for surfing up there in the winter. So some guys have the 6.4s wetsuits, but that was always a bit much for me. A good 5.43 will get you through the winters up there.
So Ian, part of this podcast is learning, teaching people ins and outs and different things about surfing and whatnot. And when you start saying we start saying 3.2, 4.3, 5.43, 6.4. What does that mean? Can you enlighten us?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what that means is the thickness of the neoprene on the wetsuit. So the heavier thickness. So when I say a 5.43, essentially the 5 millimeter thickness part of your wetsuit is going to be around like your torso to keep you warmer in those regions. And then as you go down to 3 mil, it'll be kind of on your extremities, your legs and arms, stuff like that. So it gets a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
So that's just to keep your vitals a little bit warmer for longer.
Right. Now, wetsuit technology has just changed amazingly. As I shared, a spring suit and a full suit, and then boots and gloves and I mean, I spent a little bit of extra cash. Don't tell my wife, and got the O'Neill Mutant Legend.
Oh yeah.
It's a 4.5, 3.5 with it's got a hood you can take in and out and just, oh my goodness. It's not like anything I've ever worn before. It's flexible. It's hot. It's just been awesome. So I'm glad I dropped the extra coin on that
Absolutely.
suit.
Yeah. It's worth every penny. I had a brand new suit when I had gone out the day after Christmas this year.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy was surfing with his Patagonia suit that was probably about 6 years old. So some of the stitching was a little bit worn, and they just wear over time. That's what happens. Neoprene's tough to keep new, especially the salt water is just so abrasive to it. But we were out for probably about an hour or so, and he was like, "Dude, I have to get it out. I'm freezing." I was
Yeah.
like sweating. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy how
Uh,
different they can be.
I remember times surfing in high school where I'd look at my friend and I'd go, "Are you kind of cold?" And
Yeah,
he'd be like, "I'm cold." And you can't talk. You're slurring your words. You're starting to laugh.
yeah,
Hypothermia is kicking it. Maybe we
yeah.
should stop.
Exactly, exactly. You just want to go out for one more, one more, one more.
Yeah, yeah. Not good feeling. Not good feeling.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you and your buddies, you're on this right point coming off
Yep.
this jetty, and fun little conditions offshore. I take it winds,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
you saw it coming. Did you have to say, "Hey," to your buddy, "This one's mine," or were you priority, or how's that look?
No, yeah. I was out with two other friends, and they were both paddling out.
Okay.
And I was really the only one there. That's a great thing about some of these jetties is you have quite a bit of options if they're all running relatively the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can kind of find one that maybe just you and your buddies can get out on, and that's what happened that day. And uh, came in, and I was just in the right spot. And offshore, it wasn't blowing offshore very hard. It was maybe out of the west, like 5 knots or so, like glassy, but not like super hollow.
Mm-hmm.
Just fun, like playful conditions.
Yeah, not
Uh,
blowing spray in your face as you're
yeah,
trying to get into it.
exactly. Yep, exactly. So that one came in, and it set right up, and I was thinking about this. So that the feeling that you get when you know, when the wave's just about to barrel over
Mm.
you, and you know that you got your timing pretty right, is almost as good as the barrel itself.
Yes,
Um,
it's all those
you know what I
elements
mean?
coming together.
Exactly, exactly. And I just remember came off the bottom turn, and I saw that it was going to do what I thought it was going to do, um, which is the name of the game in surfing. And so then I was just kind of getting ready to enjoy the barrel, and yeah, barreled over me, really glassy. I wasn't too deep,
Uh-huh.
um, but not super shallow either. Just able to just enjoy it. And like I said, it was probably about maybe a 4-second one. And as soon as I had come out, my buddy was right there, just really psyched, paddling out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
That's when you're I've never been in incredible barrels. I've
yeah,
been inside of a lot, but not exiting many.
yeah,
You
same.
know, and I guess you you see these magazine covers, or maybe not anymore. Not a lot of surf magazines, but you see these Instagram shots of these guys deep in these caverns, and it's
Yeah.
chandeliering over them, and they're just like, they're just. How many of them really made it out of that? You know,
Uh, I'm willing to bet not a lot, to be honest with you, but they got the good picture.
they got the
So
picture, but
yeah.
to be able to get in one, you talked about. So what were you riding for this barrel, this wave?
So at that time, I really never had I would have one board, and I would ride that board in all conditions. Maybe like one board a year. It
Mhm,
wasn't
sharp eye?
until like recently where I started kind of getting crazy about different boards for every condition, which is necessary. But at that time, I was young, and um, I I think at that time I had a 511 Channel Islands thruster, squash tail. Um, I don't even think they were doing like leaders at that point in time.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of like new technology.
Yeah.
Um,
The leaders existed, but they weren't part of the calculation.
no, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
of course. They had the displacement, the water displacement, but they weren't like computerized and didn't
Right.
have all this crazy stuff.
Right. Now,
Uh,
how tall are you?
6'1".
6'1", and you said you're riding a 5'11".
Yeah, I was a little short. I was probably about 17, so I was a little bit shorter then.
Okay, a little shorter, maybe a little thinner. You're not a fat guy at all.
Yeah,
You're
I
you're
was a little
pretty
thinner.
You're pretty ripped right now, but
Uh,
like
I got a ways to go, but but yeah, I was probably a little bit shorter, but me and all my friends used to just try to ride as small. We were on this big kick of like riding these tiny little boards,
Mm-hmm.
and but that was one that I finally got that was like appropriate for my height, and
Mm. I've
I
got
like that one a lot.
I've got a friend that he's an older gentleman, and I've been trying to get him on the show, but he actually plays the bass for a ministry here in Wilmington. Anyway, he plays on Tuesday nights, so it's hard to get him in. But I paddled out on this little bitty board when I first met him, and he's like, "So you ride that potato chip?" It was an older board, and it was super thin, and it was just hurting my shoulders bad. But
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It takes a while to kind of dial in. I think that's part of the fun. Just trying to dial in different dimensions
Hmm.
and see what works. And it's an expensive experiment, but
Right.
it's a blast trying to figure out what boards work for what conditions.
Yeah. So what are you currently riding?
So currently, I just last week, Jason, who shapes for his company called Quiver Concepts,
Hmm.
um, was able to. We went back and forth, and I was like, man, I want something like a mini Simmons, something that just like I can just fly down the line and boost airs off, uh, on like 1 and 2 foot waves. And we went back and forth, and he was like, "Hey man, have you checked out my YW, which is a fish outline with a diamond tail?" And I was like, "Yeah, that looks cool." I was like, "I don't really know how it's gonna ride, but yeah, let's go for it." And it's a 5.6. So here I am talking about these tiny boards and riding one. So it's a 5.6, 2 3/4 wide by 20, or 2 3/4 thick by 22 inches wide, at the widest point, and then it kind of narrows down to that diamond tail, and
Hmm.
it's pretty pulled in by the tail. So paddles great. Is able to turn really well, very responsive board actually,
So
and
you've got it now.
yep.
Did you
And
say
I got it
this
in
was
a
a
quad.
three? Oh, you got it in a quad.
Yeah, yeah. He
Okay.
typically makes the twin fin with the trailer, and I've gotten on this kick of riding quads. I just think
Okay.
they're so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought my son a 6'4" modern Love Child, and it's in a quad
Nice.
setup, but it's got the single fin option. And he rarely lets me borrow it. I don't understand why, but I finally guilted him into letting me borrow it the other day, and had a lot of fun. I've never really ridden a quad. And
Yeah,
for those listening out there, a quad has four fins on this, two on each side. Typically, one's a little smaller than the other. I'm not into the science and the everything of it, so maybe you can fill us in. But that quad, what does the quad do
yes.
for you?
So the idea is that with the quad setup, essentially, kind of as you're pumping down the line, the way the fins are placed in proximity to each other, it allows the water to flow faster through the tail. So gives you more speed.
Hmm.
It can loosen up the tail a little bit too, depending on kind of where they're placed.
Hmm.
So I enjoy that. Some guys say they're a little bit stiff for them, but I've found them to be looser, especially if I use like a smaller size trailer fins.
Okay.
So the ones that are in the back, if they're a little bit smaller,
Hmm.
um, I have a blast with those.
Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. You've only had it a couple weeks.
Yeah, probably about a week. And so I haven't really been able to take it out. There haven't been great waves. It's been, knee to thigh high. But the fact that at 200 pounds, I can even get into knee to thigh high waves, kind of speaks volumes about that board.
Yeah.
And I was able to do some fun turns, and a couple, had some good sessions on it for being tiny waves, and being a small board. It's got a lot of volume and some great float, so it's a perfect summer board.
So you said this is Quiver Concepts.
Yep. Yeah,
It's a
he's
local Wilmington guy.
yep. He shapes out of his house, I believe. At least that's where I picked it up at. And yeah, he makes some really cool boards and some really cool products. And yeah, I'm having a blast on mine so far. So
Well, that's good. That's good. So I'm sure they've got website or Instagram. Check them out. Quiver
yeah,
Concepts.
yeah. If you just type in Quiver Concepts on Instagram, it'll come up there, and his prices are great for people looking to get boards made like exactly how they want to. And you know, lately I've been all about kind of, there are all these big name companies making tons of boards, and they're most likely, they're not hurting too bad.
Hmm.
I have I've really enjoyed kind of giving my business to the local shapers and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and it's been really cool to be able to sit down and work with them and talk to them about hey, what do you think about this fin setup? What do you think about these dimensions? And
Hmm.
sometimes my ideas are pretty off, so it's good to have guys that have experience with all that stuff kind of reel me in and be like, hey man, that's no, let's do this instead. I'm like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
yeah, sounds good.
It's definitely a plus to get local knowledge on a board that you're going to surf in this area. But, uh, you know, those China made boards, they're good. I mean, but keeping it local, keeping the money, here and
Yeah,
supporting, board makers, they're artists.
yeah,
There's some
absolutely.
amazing stuff that they do. And, I've never made one personally. Maybe that would be a bucket list item for me. But man, I've been in several shops. I've sat and watched, and I'm just blown away. It's an art form. I love to watch
Yeah,
these guys do what they do.
yeah, absolutely. And they make it look easy.
Mm.
I thought that too. I was like, man, this would be an awesome hobby to get into. Um, learn a lot. It would be really cool. I talked to one of my buddies, and he was like, dude, have you ever tried to make one before? And I was like, no. And he's like, I did, and it came out horrible. Everything was asymmetrical. Like nothing was just. It was a mess, man. I'll leave it up to them. And I was like, I might try it, but I know they make it look like everyone can do it, and that's it's kind of not the case.
Right, right. Years of experience applied to their art craft, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. So you have
absolutely.
any trips coming up?
I don't. I actually don't right now. I had a couple scheduled, and then all this COVID stuff happened, and it's kind of tricky leaving the country. So I'm gonna keep it local
Mm-hmm.
for a while. Um, hopefully we'll get some waves, Outer Banks, this area. Maybe get down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but nothing too crazy lined up. I wish I could make it on the Puerto Rico trip, but it's just too last minute.
Yeah, yeah, that one filled up fast, and we
Yeah,
need to do another one, um, and
yeah,
hopefully the Central America will open back up and
yeah,
get down there. I would
yeah,
really like to take a group to Peru.
yeah. That would be awesome. That would be
Hmm.
really cool.
I've
Hit up.
stood I've stood on the cliffs looking down over Chicama, and man, that wave looks like it could be a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
it'd be a backside for you, maybe a front side, long way for me.
yeah. Hey, that's good. You know, if you got to do what's difficult sometimes, and it's the only way to get better.
That's right. That's right. So,
Yeah.
if you could leave some advice for our listeners, um, maybe starting out in surfing, or maybe they've been surfing a while, you what advice would you give?
Yeah, for sure. So get out as much as possible. If people seem territorial in the lineup or just kind of rude, just ignore them. That's not everyone. That's
Hmm.
not the way it's supposed to be. Um, if they're local to the Wrightsville Beach area, pretty much anyone from the surf church will be willing to kind of guide them and show them some of the ropes.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, do a little bit of research before, kind of learn the rules about priority and where you should be in terms of the lineup, um, and just have fun and get out there as much as possible. And whether you got a piece of crap little short board to start out on, or a longboard, whatever. Just the more time you spend in the water, um, the more you're going to really learn the ocean, and kind of being able to read waves and things like that is almost equally as important as the regular skills involved in surfing.
Yeah,
So
it
just
is.
get out as much as possible.
Yes, getting out in it is vital. That
Yeah.
it's like language study. You can learn it all, but unless you immerse yourself in that culture, you're really not going to learn it. And you can read and YouTube and all that sort of stuff, but you really got to get out in it. And that's good advice. Good advice.
Yeah.
So, Ian, be safe if you're driving down tomorrow. I know you're
Yeah.
itching to put that quiver concept in the water.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going
Yeah.
to. So.
All right. All right. Well, Ian, thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's really it. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, very blessed to be able to do this. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ian, before we close, have you ever read in the Bible anything about surfing?
I haven't, but I know the answer to this question because I overheard you talking to someone about this last week.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No, this is the way I'm supposed to end it. It's my kooky way of ending. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, Acts chapter 27, verse 44 is the
All right.
reference. So this bad shipwreck. Paul, the apostle Paul, and everybody, it says they made it to shore safely. It says some on pieces of the ship, others on boards. So I think we have a very confident reference to the fact that surfing is a biblical sport.
Oh yeah, they were definitely surfing.
Anyway, man, thanks so much. Peace out, and
All
we'll
right.
see you hopefully tomorrow.
Thanks, BK.
All right, bro.
Yeah,
Bye.
sounds good. Thanks.
Hey.